Well, hello, badass business introverts. Guess what? I am one of the biggest introverts ever. And I am here today to present to you, really to talk to you about goal setting for quarter 4. So, my name is Pamela Leverins, and I am known as the Brick Wall Coach. And I am hoping that as people join me, just give me a little wave or something so that I know you're there and that you can hear me. That's always my worst fear is that I test it before I go on, but then I'm on live and my lips are moving, but nobody can hear me. Um, so I wanted to, let me see. Oh, yeah. Oh, and for those of you who are not watching me live, if you can just type in replay so that I know that you came back and watched this. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will, of course, come back around and answer anything. Hi, Nicole. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nicole, for allowing me to come in here today and talk about goal setting for quarter 4. And there are a few things I've noticed, more than a few things floating around because, of course, now we're in quarter 4 and everybody is like, oh, it's the countdown to the end of 2018. And I have to quickly try to reach all the goals I've set for 2018, and then maybe I'll start thinking about 2019. And there is a lot of anticipation and a lot of hurry scurry going on. And I am here today with a little bit different point of view of goal setting and how it can work for you going into quarter 4 because it's brand new. We've only been in October for a month, for a week, and there's plenty of time left over in the remaining almost 3 months that there are tons of goals that you can set and achieve before the end of the year. And it will also set you up for success in 2019 because, of course, we want to leave 2018 with a giant bang, but we want to be able to enter January knowing where we're heading and what we're going to do. So today, I am just going to talk about a few of those things. And the biggest thing I think I wanted to just get out there to everybody is, whoops, I'm going to type as I go along here, is review. Review. Um, into Q4. Okay, so review is the best thing you can do for yourself going into quarter 4. And what do I mean by review? Well, if you've been in business for anything more than a month or two, you have something you can look back on. And generally, what I do this time of year with my goal setting workshops that I do is we go all the way back to January and we pull it apart month by month. So you're going to go back to, let's say January. If you've been in business for that long, you want to go back to January and do a review of each and every month. And I'm going to tell you how in a minute. If you have been in business, hi Leah, thanks for joining. If you've been in business for more than a year, you're also going to have a last year to go back and compare this to, which is awesome. A lot of times what I do at the end of the quarter is I go back and I compare everything to the previous quarter. So what we're doing going into quarter 4 is you want to go back to January and you want to pull those months apart. And these are the things that you want to ask yourself. You want to ask yourself, what was my main focus? In January, what was my main focus? Not what you did in January, but what your actual main focus was. And write it down. So I would suggest that, I mean, you can use whatever you want, but even using a notebook for this process is fine. You want to put down what your main focus was. So go back and do quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3. The next question you want to ask is, okay, did I actually do that? I mean, yes, it was your focus, but did you actually do it? Because we all know there's things that stop us from doing sometimes the things that we intend to. Next question you want to ask is what you did to market your business during that particular month. And you want to write down under there the things that you did do. Yes, it worked. No, it didn't. Little check mark system. That's all. Next question is, if something didn't work well, you want to try to find out why it didn't work well. And that could be a myriad of reasons, but I want to make sure you know that when you're talking about having an online business, it's even more so than a brick and mortar, that your personal life sometimes interacts with your business life. So sometimes the things that stop us are not totally business related. Things pop up in our personal life as well. So write that all down. And then the next thing you want to write down is what was holding you back. Was there something on that list you intended to do, but you did not do it? You want to make sure you write that down. So you do that for each of the months. And it is going to take you a little while to outline all of that. But trust me, it is so worth it to do it now in Q4 rather than wait a whole nother quarter and have to do it while you're trying to enter a brand new year and kickstart everything. So I would use the next week to go over that list and just, set aside even 30 minutes a day to take a look at it. You might get it done in an hour. You might need a couple hours. But go back, ask those questions to yourself. It's so super important that we look back on where we were, what we did before we move forward. And then one of the biggest things is after that's all done, you start asking yourself questions before you're even framing out what's going to happen in Q4. You ask yourself the question, was this a need or was this a want? And those are two so totally separate things. And a lot of times when we're a business owner, we just get caught up in everything that's going on. And sometimes we don't realize that our journey has taken these little twists and turns, and we're doing things that we didn't intend to do from the very beginning. It's not aligning with the actual overall goal that you had set for yourself. So you have to steer yourself back onto the path. And that's the really big piece of looking back at those previous months and asking yourself, is it truly a need? Is it something your business needs in order to survive? Then you need to keep it on the list. And if it's not, then it's a want. Anything that's not in the category of this makes my business survive is not a need, it's a want. And I know that's a tough thing for a lot of people to hear. I know a lot of times when I go back and so this is my 4th year, October of this year right now is my 4th year full-time business owner. So I started my part-time side hustle back in 2009. I didn't have goals. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have anything written out. I just solely did this side hustle for one particular person. I just considered it like a part-time job. And I didn't get serious about it until 2014 when I decided that I didn't want to do what I was doing outside of the home anymore. And I was thoughtfully searching for what I could do from my home. And I thought, I have this side hustle. Why don't I just make that into a full-time business? So it's at that point that I actually started writing down goals and I got a business plan. I did all the steps that I needed to do at that point. But prior to that, I hadn't. So when I first started, I was so gung-ho. I was like, oh, I need this, and I need this, and I need that. And I had all these things carefully, you know, picked out, and I bought them and I paid for them. And come to find out, I didn't need like 80% of them. And that's what happens. But I didn't even realize that I didn't need those until I stopped to do a look back and said, how often do I even use that? Or, it may be something that you did offer at one point and you needed to have that tool or that resource, but you don't do that anymore. I had a lot of that going on as well. So this is a good time to literally sit back and think about the need versus the want as well. And then the third piece of this, I'm going to write this in, sorry. Next step is need versus want. All right, and then the third step is, well, before I even type it in, I'm going to tell you what the third step is. So you've done your general overview. Now you're going into quarter 4 and you're asking yourself, you're getting really squirrely. You're getting really anxious. You're like, I really, really wanted to achieve this giant list of goals and I have 3 months more. Can I do it? Depending on what your goal list looks like, I don't know that unless I looked at it. But I can tell you this. Your focus during quarter 4 has to be on money-making activities in order to achieve the piece that's going to sustain you going into 2019. So whether that's marketing techniques, whether that's getting better known to people, whether that's finally getting your website up and going, those are things that you have to determine, but that is my best advice. Going into quarter 4, you want to keep the momentum going that you've made over the first 3 quarters, and you want to make sure your focus is on that money sustaining piece of your business so that when you enter January of 2019, that's your number one goal, you can start from there. So that is something that is extremely achievable by anyone. You have to break that larger goal up into the smaller steps. And when I look at goal setting, this is something that is helpful to me. This little chart that I actually learned from a mentor of mine back, oh my gosh, maybe in 2013 or 2014 when I was kind of deciding about what I wanted to do with my life and what kind of business I wanted to open. And he told me this, and I use this with all of my clients. I use this with myself whenever I set goals. So you want to make sure that you understand that having goals is not just affecting your business, it's affecting you as a person, because yes, you're the face behind your business, and unless you take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to show up 100% for your clients. You're not going to be at your best. You're not going to be able to create a product or a service that makes sense and follows along with what you wanted to do, what your intentions are. So when you're setting goals, you want to look at these particular pieces. You want to make sure that you're looking at the brain piece, which is your intellectual piece of the goal. You want to look at the money piece, which of course is the financial portion. You want to look at people and spending time with people. And I don't just mean potential clients or clients. I mean your family, your friends, your neighbors, whatever it is, the people that you have in your life. You want to look at the physical piece, which is the self-care piece. Don't forget that. That is essential. That is essential. You want to look at the spiritual piece. So whether that's meditation or church or a higher power of some sort, you want to make sure you get that in there as well. And then that last piece is the time, which is really your organizational goals. And that's part of where the overall goal reaches into, is it all kind of comes back to time management, productivity, and that piece of it. So it's brain, in part of that, when I say the intellectual piece, is making sure that you have listed on your goals that you're staying up to date with things, that you're listening to podcasts that you need to, that you're taking part in challenges, or you're signing up for a course that you need to. That's the intellectual part of making sure that you're staying up to date and understanding that, I mean, things change every week. Everybody knows they change. Facebook platforms, they change all social media platforms. If you're in the accounting world, you know those things are changing all the time. There's always something that's changing, and there's always something that we're striving to keep learning. It's like it's a process. It's a learning process, and we want to stay up to date. So you want to make sure your goals encompass that. The money piece, you want to make sure that you know what your expenses are and what your intended goal is for the money piece of it. So you've got your gross goal, which is, let's say, $10,000 a month. From that, you need to take your expenses, and your expenses don't only include what I spoke about, all those shiny object syndrome things, the things we think we need. It also includes all your self-employment taxes and things like that. So it can easily be, I mean, right off the bat, at least 30% of that $10,000. And it, depending on what programs and other things you need to support your business, it can really start adding on from there. So you want to have that financial piece you're looking at. You want to look at the people piece. And I spoke a little bit about that because that is one big piece that I really missed. I was way off of the charts with that. I was way off the charts with people and self-care. Those were my two big uh-ohs when I started my business. Not that I forgot, but I'm going to use that term. I forgot that I had a life, and I forgot that I had a family and they had needs, and I focused only on myself. I am a huge volunteer in my community. I have been for 25 or 30 years, a volunteer in my community for various things. And I could easily find 20 extra hours a week to go out and volunteer for things. And when I started my business, I couldn't find those 20 hours anymore. I couldn't find volunteer time. I couldn't find time to spend with my kids or my grandkids or even my husband. I just kept saying, I have to focus on my business. I'm building a business here. I totally threw that out the window. So that's a really good piece to put in there, is make sure you're saving out time and creating your goals around the people in your life that mean something to you. Which brings me to the physical part, which is the self-care. Which of course includes sleep and nutrition and just everything that you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. You want to make sure you're creating your goals around that as well. Again, that was an area that I severely lacked in. My first year in business, I probably averaged 4 hours of sleep a night for 12 months. And self-care, out the window. Really, other than my morning meditation, I was not practicing yoga. I was not going for walks. I was not doing anything that was not physically at my desk in front of my computer building this business. And I'm glad that stopped. I'm glad that ended, because I wouldn't have been able to sustain myself. And I found that out 2 years into my business. In 2016, I found out when it all came crashing down around me, I woke up one particular morning and I was tired because I had been up late the night before working on a special project for one of my clients. And back then I was doing online business management and bookkeeping for people. So I woke up, and this was January of 2016, dark, cold, gloomy New England morning. I didn't want to get out of bed. And that was the first time that had happened to me in a long time. Like, I couldn't believe that I wasn't loving what I was doing and doing what I loved anymore. I was working to make money, and that's what I was doing. It wasn't something that I enjoyed. It wasn't something I had, I could sustain. I had gone off the path on my journey. I had lost the focus. And part of the reason I lost it was because I was lacking that self-care piece. I wasn't taking care of me, so then I didn't want to show up for anybody else. And that's kind of how I went from doing my balanced business consulting over to the brick wall coach piece, because I realized the brick wall coach piece was where I was meant to be. That was my journey. That was where my path had branched out. I took the wrong branch. But I caught myself, and I went back onto the path and went on the correct one. And it just, I don't want that to happen to someone else. I'm passionate about making sure that you are practicing self-care. It's super, super important. I mean, Leah is watching right now, Leah Borsky, and she is awesome. If you need help with any of that, she's the person to turn to, because she is really good at what she does. And then the other piece, the last two pieces, were spiritual. And, I'm not going to stand here and say, or sit here and say, do you believe in God or don't you believe in God? There's a higher power somewhere. There's something spiritual, and you have to grab a hold of that. That's one of the pieces, again, that's over the umbrella of your goal. It's part of the mindset piece that really helps you to focus on where you're going. And then lastly, the time. And I did talk a little bit about the organizational piece, and having those skills of managing your time and being productive and trying to balance that the best you can. So all of your goals have to kind of be under that umbrella, and think about these categories as you're making them. You don't want to make, of course, you want SMART goals. You don't want to make something that is not realistic, and something, yes, you want to reach outside of your comfort zone, but you don't want to make it so unrealistic with a short time frame that you're not going to achieve it. And I'm talking to the masses of people. Of course, there's always going to be 1% of somebody who's going to, be a millionaire by the end of the month. But for the majority of us, that's not going to happen. So we want to make sure that we set a goal. If it's $1 million, that's a great goal to have. But don't say, I'm going to make $1 million within 30 days. That's a goal to set for a longer time frame. It's a great goal. It's just unrealistic to have the short term. So when we're talking about the quarter four and going into 2019, setting these goals, you want to make sure that you're making your goals for quarter four very realistic. And part of those goals can be, like I said, the marketing piece of yourself, things that you've been doing this year that you've set yourself up in the past 3 quarters to go ahead and push that out during October, November, and December. There's absolutely nothing wrong with marketing during the holidays. As a matter of fact, the holidays, they're great times to market yourself. There's so many opportunities with Black Friday coming up, and Cyber Monday, and the Christmas holiday. And I mean, there's like 6 or 7 times between Halloween and New Year's that we can market ourselves, just even around the holidays, never mind the in-between time. So that's all food for thought. And I want to make sure, oops, did I write down? I didn't write that third step in here. Hold on just a second. I want to make sure if people are watching the replay, that they have some kind of guide other than just me blabbing at them. Does anybody at this point have any specific questions for me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you do not be shy about asking them. Leah says she had a similar experience with burnout, same time frame. And yes, absolutely, Leah. And I know that's huge for so many people, especially this time of year, because they're looking at, oh my gosh, you know, I have 3 months and I have all these goals. Don't look at it that way. What I would do after you've done your review, I would take the goals that you had, if you had any, for quarter 4 and make sure that they're aligned with those first 3 quarters. If there's something that doesn't fit in, it looks like it's you wanted to add something new, I wouldn't do any of that during quarter 4, because time is limited during quarter 4. It's the same amount of time as the other quarters, but it's limited because of the holidays. And we take our focus sometimes off of running our business to do the rest of our life. So you don't want to push yourself and be that person who, you know, the day before Thanksgiving is like, no, I just can't possibly help you make pies or travel to, you know, my aunt's house because I'm so busy writing this new thing, writing this new service, or trying to come up with a new product, or this isn't the time to do that kind of goal setting in quarter 4. It's time for you to bring together all the goals that you had for 2018 and choose, I would say, your top 3 that you want to achieve by December 31st. And, you know, it could simply be that you're going to reach out and collaborate with someone, you know, one new person every month. You are going to, you know, market your business in a new and unique way. There's a huge list of different ways you can do that. It might be that you're going to do live presentations every week or every 2 weeks or even once a month. You know, offering some kind of workshop to someone. There's lots of different ways service-based businesses can go about marketing themselves and getting themselves known. And like I said, I mean, there's 3 months. That's a lot of time, but you also don't want to take your focus off of your family and yourself and their needs during the holiday time. So you have to be very, very intentional with your time during quarter 4. And then, of course, I always recommend hopping in a workshop during quarter 4 that's going to help you set those goals up for 2019. When I did my goal setting workshop the end of last year, December, I actually made it for 2018 plus quarter 1 so that I'd have some kind of framework to work on when I came to December of this year. Looking into next year, I wasn't scrambling and wondering where my focus was going to be. So I hope that this has been helpful to you today. I have put here in the comments my website, so you can check that out, see the various ways that you can work with me. I do have some really good workshops coming up in these next, starting this month, all the way up through the end of the year into January. They're on time management, they're on productivity, they're on goal setting. They're all the things you need you know, to get your business to the level that you want it to be at. And I also have a special going on during the month of October and that is a business strategy session with me, and it's half price. I'm doing 20 sessions during the month of October. When the 20 are gone, the sale is over. There's a code to go in, so I will put that code in here. You can hop over to my website and you can sign up using that code and get a half price business strategy session. We can knock these goals out in an hour. I can help you choose the 3 goals that you want to focus on during the next 3 months. Whatever your business need is, you can walk away from that strategy session with actionable steps in order to take it. So it's a great deal, and I'm only offering it during the month of October because it's my anniversary month, 4 years in business, and it's really, really exciting. All right, that is it. I am going to end for today, but thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, if you come back around and watch the replay, please put replay in there so that I know that you viewed it. Any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the week.